It's really amazing how much of an impact just one YouTube comment can have. That this is a random comment on my Necrozma news video, but it got me thinking. And then those thoughts led to this video, and then I want this video to lead to discussion to bring positivity to the Pokemon community, because I feel that's one of the biggest things killing the community right now, is that we're lacking just a lot of support for each other, and that's kind of what this comment reminded me of. As I was reading it, I was thinking, man, this sounds like something my friends would say, or that my friends have been saying. This sounds like something from the average casual Pokemon player that I've met, or some fans I've met as well, and let's go and read into this comment from Sergio. This popped into my feed, so I watched it. Now, the first thing this tells me is that it's not a subscriber. That's someone that saw this in the recommended, it kind of blew up because it's Pokemon news, so a little bit of interest, like, oh yeah, I was kind of into Pokemon Sun and Moon, let's see what the news is going on to right now. But honestly, I started playing the game for about a few hours and stopped and haven't played since the release. Is it just me or are the new games underwhelming? They didn't release a lot of new Pokemon, is it worth keep playing? Now, I'm not going to answer the second part of the question because that's more of a personal thing. It's worth it to keep playing if you feel it's worth it to keep playing. That if you can find a reason to get through the story, you can find some in-game payout, then yeah, it could be worth it. But if not, then unfortunately Pokemon Sun and Moon was just a miss for you and for all the other people that think this way. But this is where the discussion got me going. This is why I realized I have to break the video in like 2 parts. I have a lot that I want to say that might cause some good in this community, that might revive Pokemon, because it is dead right now in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Realizing the issues is going to be the best way of fixing it. Is it just me or these new games underwhelming? My first reaction was slightly defensive. I don't mean like a combative way, I don't mean in like a negative way towards him, but just because there's been a lot of people criticizing Pokemon Sun and Moon, and personally, I love the game. That even though the story does kind of drag you around, I didn't have too much of an issue with that. You know, sometimes I want a more linear story, even though I am a big fan of like sandbox, open world, freeform games. I enjoyed the comedy, I enjoyed the way that they built up the story, and then I knew there was going to be a good payout at the end. Followed all the news, I stayed hype, and I was like, yo, the competitive scene is going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot of new tools, there's going to be a lot of new things to explore, so I was able to keep my passion for Pokemon going, while even focusing on only making content. That it was a very powerful experience for me. However, when I talk to my friends I've known since like high school, they're not as strong of Pokemon fans as they used to be back then, and it feels like that's because they're just not into the games as much. 6th generation? It was okay, but 7th generation killed off pretty much all of my friends that I've known in real life from the days of high school for many years now, and while I do have some even current friends that I've met recently in like the 6th generation that they weren't too impressed by the 7th generation, I have also competitive friends. They loved it. And that's where the split came into play. That's where I realized that this is mostly the average Pokemon player, that the casual fan has been completely left behind in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and to the point where they might not even finish the game. So it seems like the Pokemon Company, they went down in the age group, and they also went up on the competitive scale, leaving this massive chasm of casual players, and that's kind of it. That this gap kind of wrecked a large part of the community. That I don't see as much interaction, you know. Back in the 6th generation and 5th generation, I'd go out to a Denny's, I'd go out to an IHOP with my friends pretty much every week, and we'd just play Pokemon, and we would come up with something to do. I'm not seeing that. It seems like card stores, you know, there's not as many card stores in my area. I haven't seen as many people trying to form events, just have casual Pokemon days regularly. Maybe once a month, maybe like a seasonal thing, but nothing regular to keep people playing Pokemon. I think that's just kind of echoing throughout the community right now. So what happened? Now, I'm going to go into like competitive things, like I said, it's a 2-part video, but let's look at some of the mechanics behind Pokemon Sun and Moon. We have Z Crystals. Z Crystals are like the big gimmick. This is one of the biggest marketing things, and it's kind of similar to Mega Evolutions, but what are Z Crystals for? It's competitive. That Z Crystals seem much more competitive than Mega Evolutions, that you can use them strategically with status, and also just adds way too many layers to the game if you don't want to dedicate the memory to it. They have to know which range of base power that the move is going to excel into, when to use it, how to combo it, and also the Z status moves. I still don't even know what half the Z status moves boost and how you can utilize it in a moveset and what kind of strategy that unlocks. It's a very strategic play. At least with the Mega Evolution, you Mega Evolve that Pokemon, and then it sits there for the rest of the game. That at least you can switch it out, bring it back in, but you have one chance to make that Z move worth as much as your opponent is getting out of it or more, or else it's not going to work out. So there's a lot of competitive aspects there. It's a lot of competitive focus. But when we look at Mega Evolutions, they're fun regardless. And I think that's it. Z Crystals, it feels more mandatory, and it also feels more forced and not as diverse. Then with Mega Evolutions, even if you're the most casual fan ever, you can find some appreciation in Mega Evolution, even if it's not even rewarding you competitively, that one of your favorite Pokemon gets a Mega Evolution. Well, now you can Mega Evolve them, you can make them feel stronger, and that's going to make you feel better, that you can finally use this Pokemon for the first time. And I mean, some people, even though like the main complaint is like, oh, Mega Kangaskhan's too strong, or oh, Mega Mawile, or oh, Mega Gengar, let's think about it. Kangaskhan got no play before Mega, Mawile got no play before Mega. You know, some Pokemon already got play and just got stronger, but these were Pokemon that were loved by many people, or that people have wanted to use. They were just not strong enough, and then they became usable because of that Mega Evolution. It's not just Kangaskhan, it's not just Mawile. We have the Kanto starters, like the first gen fan service of, my god, my Charizard gets to be stronger, or man, Blastoise gets to be this mega tank like Pokemon that just fires cannons of damage, and then Venusaur just gets even more filthy to use as a stally damage Pokemon. There was something for everyone with Mega Evolutions, and I don't really feel that with Z-Crystals. There's no identity to Z-Crystals, and that's the big thing. What do you think about X and Y? What do you think about 6th generation? Mega Evolutions. 7th generation, Z-Crystals. So that's going to be another shift right there. And also just looking at the Pokemon Company's decisions, it seems like a lot of the aspects, you know, the anime seems a lot more simpler. It's now on Disney XD. So it seems like the target audience is younger for Pokemon Sun and Moon. That's also why the story is so linear and it feels like the game was so easy. You press the Z move, you nuke the opponent, and most trainers only have one Pokemon, or if they have two, you can usually find another way, or you just kind of, you can AFK the game. The game really isn't much of a challenge, and it feels like more of a kid's game than any other Pokemon game. And then we look at the news updates, you know, anything that the official Pokemon Company puts out, it seems like it's a very basic, hey, this is a fun thing for you kids to get hyped for. But then on the other side, the competitive scene is the complete opposite. It has international challenge breakdowns on the Pokemon Global Link. They've hired writers to do in-depth VGC breakdowns. They've kind of expanded on their competitive scene with more prizes, paying to enter now for the regional events. You know, while it does have its pros and cons, it's a lot more hardcore right now on that VGC side, that they're hiring casters who are competitive players that have topped at Worlds or like topped at main events, that are known as some of the best players ever, and these people are being hired by the Pokemon Company to represent VGC. There's the chasm again. We have very young, we have very competitive, and then there's really nothing for the player in between. And all I can really say is like maybe Festival Plaza, but the Festival Plaza never took off, it fell flat, and it was honestly like one of my weaker performing guides. Then when it came to the guides on Pokemon Sun and Moon, Channel did incredible. For like that lunch month into December, so like November 18th into January 1st was like an amazing time where it felt like people were trying to learn about the game. Like people pretty much crushed it during winter break, and then they realized either the game isn't for them or it's not worth pursuing because they don't want to be over competitive or they don't want to take the game that seriously, and then they realized that it's not for them. Like my competitive guides actually did worse than I expected, but all the other guides overperformed. So basic gameplay, a lot of people were playing this game. A lot of people were trying to figure out basic information and basic just gameplay mechanics and whatnot, but then as it got into the competitive aspect, it felt like everyone already knew. Like my EV training guide, even though there were a couple updates to EV training, nothing. No, some of the worst performing guides, like even the EV training guide from Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire did better. So pretty much what that tells me is a lot of people that wanted to get into competitive, they did in the 6th generation, and not as many people wanted to get competitive in the 7th generation, and because of that, there was just that shift. And then when you get to the end game, there's only competitive. The battle tree is this ominous looming tower of just hate, and it's not fun. But you think about the Battle Frontier. Battle Frontier is fun. There's different things you can do. It sure can be frustrating, but it doesn't make you feel like you're on the Battle Point grind. It feels like you're playing minigames, it feels like you're engaging in Pokemon battles in a different way, and then you get rewarded with cool prizes. Battle Tree to me, and to many other people, is only, I need to farm this for BP, so I can maybe get enough BP to get my item so I can finally go to the battle spot. You know, there wasn't like an engaging, fun aspect about it, even though they tried to bring back trainers and they tried to have like the red-blue interaction, all that fun stuff. It was neat, but it didn't change the fact that the battle tree is just going to be an unfair slog until you can finally get several hundred battle points, which also takes a while, which is also not that super fun, to then get all your competitive items to then go and hit up the battle spot. So because of that, it feels like, you know, the end game had nothing. X and Y still had hype and interaction, that there was a friend safari, that there were multiple shiny hunting methods. Like Pokemon Sun and Moon, I feel one thing that kind of hurts is like, yeah, there's not as much diversity in the shiny hunting. With Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, You have legendaries to find, you have secret bases to build, you have islands to go and explore, and all like the mirage spots and stuff. There was a lot of post-game content that could kind of transition you into competitive, or at least keep you entertained as a casual player, and then even take it to the next level. Like, there was interaction in that game, and I think that the Festival Plaza killed it, you know? PSS, Player Search System, was good. Festival Plaza is garbage. And it's not even that, like, the functionality of battling and trading is absolute crap, but also the Festival Plaza itself. It didn't even work that well. Like, as much as I don't like the 5th generation games, you know, Joint Avenue kept more people into it. You know, there was more to do in Black and White too, and Black and White even, with friends and all that engagement that you find in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that's why I feel like there was just nothing. There was no reason to pursue any further. And then people realize this, that, you know, they hear from other players, they hear from other friends, or they just kind of look ahead at what the game is going to promise them, and then they don't even finish the game. That's a lot of my friends, that they couldn't even finish the game. It's like, it's a simple, straightforward story, but they don't feel that the time investment is worth it to not do anything once they beat the game. I feel the story is worth it on its own merits, but some people don't feel that because Pokemon isn't about the story. You don't play Pokemon for the story, and you're supposed to do it for the community aspect. You're supposed to be doing it out of the spirit of Pokemon, and to expand your love and what you can do in the game, but there's none of that. There's no expansion. Pokepelago, Festival Plaza, boom, all that's from the start. Pokepelago, that's just click a few buttons, doesn't really engage really well either. So I think that's just the surface, you know. That's why I'm making this a 2-part video, because I could go on for another 15 minutes, but by now most people have like not watched the video or have kind of dropped off. So a lot of the other important things I need to say, the retention isn't going to be there, and I think we've kind of established it that, you know, it does make sense. You can look at the main features of Pokemon Sun and Moon, you can look at the Pokemon community support, and you can look at the Pokemon community, and it all just doesn't work. So that's going to be the next episode. Next episode, or next part, whatever, talking about the community and just all that other stuff. So yeah, casual players, I've tried to make my channel more for the casual player, that, you know, it's like introductory, but if you don't want to get like super competitive, then you will hit a limit even on this channel, and then that's kind of it. So there we go, guys. Hope you all enjoyed this discussion, and that maybe we can take it even further. Maybe we can, now that we've identified the issue, we can work towards fixing it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.